Uh, okay, well we're live now. Hey,
Are we live now?
we are live now, and so I'm with John Meyer, and we're just sitting here talking, and we're having a couple of technical issues, but we thought we would just have a
Yeah, we're
conversation, and so that's what we're doing.
there we go. But it's in and out.
Yeah, and it's a little choppy, so we'll,
So,
we'll see how long we go here. I'm going to go ahead and share this over to my personal,
okay.
and I'll share it to the group, and we'll see how this goes. Huh. Well, if anybody's watching, we're just calling this real and raw, because John and I think we resonate pretty well together, um, and hopefully he'll be back on shortly. I think we've got a connection issue on his end, maybe, but one of the things that John and I really appreciate, and again, he'll be back on in a minute, I'm sure, but we just wanted to have a conversation, real and raw, where we're just going to share, the journey that each of us have been on, um, and just to talk about uh, real Christian life. And we're men, so I guess it's going to revolve a little bit more around men, but at the same time, anybody can obviously watch. So John, you're back. I think can you hear me
I'm back.
okay? All
I
right.
can. If I'm part of the frozen chosen, that's okay as long as they can hear me.
Well, why don't you share? You were sharing something just a minute ago, and again, I kind of want this just to be raw, like it's just you and me, and not anybody really, as an audience listening. But at the same time, if you are listening, you can throw something in the comment section or ask a question, and we might try to answer them later. And it's kind of anything goes, so we're not even focused on anything specific. Um, but we just thought we would
Exactly.
try this. There was no announcement or anything, so we're just hanging here and talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Gil, it's interesting what we're all collectively going through right now. I've talked to a lot of people recently about just feeling like they're cornered or boxed in. And, that could mean a number of different things. But one of the things that I really felt this morning was, what do you do? What do you do when seemingly nothing works that you put your hand to, that used to work, right? Maybe it's finances for some, maybe it's a relationship, whatever it may be. It seems as if collectively, all over the planet, we are being transitioned into really looking at things and how they work and how they operate from the spirit realm in such a way that is not so mysterious anymore. It's pretty simplistic, but yet you can define it through science. You can define it through how you feel. Oftentimes we're told in the church, don't feel. That's not a good thing to
Yeah.
follow your feelings. I've found it just the opposite. God gave us our feelings for a reason. Now, they can go haywire, of course, if you're going by your emotion alone. However, feeling our way in the spirit is, I think, a good way to kind of look at it is what am I sensing? What am I feeling? What am I seeing as leads and prompts in the spirit? And so often we get so clogged up because of things that we see in the external. And we get caught up in our jobs, get caught up in just the stuff, everyday life, right? And then we find ourselves feeling trapped. Well,
Yeah.
I found that a quick way to really quiet the mind is just to go into a place of stillness somewhere, quietness, go into nature or somewhere, and just really just sit and absorb, not do a lot of praying or requesting or pleading or any of that, just quiet and just listen. And oftentimes what I'll see is just the stuff that keeps coming up. Well, that stuff, that egoic stuff that we put our hands to, and I'm not saying that egoic has to be bad all the time. It doesn't, because our ego serves us in some way.
Yeah.
It's helped us to stay alive, right? However, oftentimes when you still yourself, you'll think of, well, why don't I have any money? Or why is my money evading me? You know, we talked a couple days ago about, I'll just say for me, you can share if you want to on your side, but I was recently $3,350 was stolen from me, you know, and from two different people. So I had a choice. I could sit there and say, why me? Why is the devil ripping me off again? You know, kind of theology thinking. Or I could go into stillness and quiet my soul and listen.
Yeah.
Listen. And I know that's hard. I know that's easier said than done sometimes. However, it's the only way I've found to find real answers.
Yeah.
I can get answers from you. I can get answers from my wife. I can get answers from the neighbor, whatever. But there's nothing like stilling ourselves to get a real solid answer for our own individual journey in the moment, or the answers that we're looking for. And what do you do when you have silence and then God's not speaking, but you keep seeing this stuff come up? Well, God's not silent. The stuff coming up is revealing something to us. It's revealing our need to drop down into heart-centeredness and get out of the head. So that's what I've found. And then when I stay there long enough, what comes up is, I've got you. I've got this. I'll take care of it. Just stay submitted. Stay submitted to sovereignty. Sometimes sovereignty sucks, like you said.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody ever. Oh, well, Sunday morning I shared that. You know, the four S's. It's like, yeah, sometimes sovereignty. No, sometimes submitting to sovereignty sucks. And
yeah, that's what I meant.
yeah, it can be a challenge. And you know, I saw some comments on Facebook, you know, regarding kind of the idea that if was it God's sovereign will for, you know, I'll just say anybody to die, especially to die early, to pass on, to transition. And I'm of the camp now that, you know, the answer is no. However, there's so many other variables that are involved, and a lot of them are, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but again, we're just being real and raw. But there's a lot of things that really depend on my choice. And when I say that, I'm talking about agreements that I have made. And many of the agreements, and let me rephrase that, not even necessarily that I've made, but agreements that are affecting me. And those could be done by my ancestors. They could be done by colleagues and other people, you know, choices and agreements that they have made that affect me. You know, the only place that I have full authority and sovereignty over is my inner being, my ability to choose. So it's like, I don't even have necessarily a full choice over my body. Sometimes things happen. I mean, I get, you know, trip down a stair, break my ankle, whatever, things like that are not my intent, but they happen. Somebody else falls on me, breaks my wrist, you know, whatever. Crazy things can happen. The only place I have true sovereignty and choice is how I respond. So it's living from the inside out. How do I respond when someone falls on my wrist and breaks it? How do I respond when someone dies that, you know, it doesn't seem like that was God's will? I mean, and again, I don't believe it's ever God's will. I think Scripture is, you know, fairly clear that we are designed to live forever. However, you know, and I believe that on a conscious level. However, there are subconscious and cellular consciousness, however you want to look at it. There are other things that I just have to conclude that I evidently believe in that are contrary to my conscious choice and agreement. And so therefore, it's in that silence place where you were just talking. It's in that quiet place with Father, asking some of those questions that he can begin to reveal those things. And then I can deal with them. Because I do believe all the work is finished. Christ did everything necessary. However, he's not going to violate our freedom of choice. And if we've made choices and agreements, or even if others have made them, and they affect us, it all plays into everything. So it's not,
It does.
it's convoluted. It really
I
is.
know. Well, and the thing that we're taught a lot of times, as you know, Gil, we can be so conditioned to believe certain beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And the only way I've found to undo those is through stilling myself,
Yeah.
because what happens is things percolate up in the soul, in the subconscious mind, that automatically happen when we still ourselves. Be still and know, right? Be still and know that he is sovereign. And it can only be found in that sweet secret place where the subconscious programming begins to percolate up, and you see that in your mind's eye, right? You see that in a daydream, and you're looking at it and you're going, why am I thinking these thoughts? Why am I thinking thoughts about the dog running after the cat? Why am I thinking about thoughts of why my bank account's drained? Why am I thinking thoughts about something I need to fix, especially for men, right?
Yeah.
I got to fix this thing. And the reason why it's coming up, I've found, is because it needs to clear. And when we watch it go by, instead of anchoring into it, you know how we anchor in sometimes, we keep dwelling on it, dwelling
Yeah.
on it, dwelling on it,
Yeah.
dwelling on it. That's
Get locked on
anchoring
it.
in. But if we don't anchor in and we watch it go by like a slow moving boat on a sea or on a lake, and we watch it go by and we let it go by, then it begins to clear the subconscious programming. And then the answer oftentimes comes up right behind it. We don't stay in it long enough sometimes to see it or to hear it. We're always, usually in the maintenance mode. I can just speak for myself. In the past, I was always in maintenance mode. Well, say my prayers real quick because I got stuff to do. And then God's like, well, don't you want to wait for the answer? And I'm like, well, I'm busy. Can you just speak to me on the go? I mean, that's what guys do, right? We just go and do our things, and then we talk to each other while we're doing them.
Yeah.
And, and he's like, no, that's your programming. So sit with me for a little while. Just sit with me.
Yeah.
And some people, I can just hear some well-meaning person listening to this saying, well, I don't have time to sit. Well, that's the problem. If you don't have a half an hour, make time, I say that with all love because, hey, I've been there, done that. I'm a type A go-getter, get her done. And I can do that stuff too. But I've learned something over time, is that the only way I'm going to clear this stuff in my subconscious to hear real conscious answers, Christ conscious answers, is to sit with it and watch. I'm a real watcher. I'm a real seer. I can see in the spirit. Some people connect differently here, right? But if we sit there and we watch, then the answers come up right behind. They percolate up. Now, it may not be the red Ferrari. Am I still there?
You cut out. You said it may not be the red Ferrari. I think you were saying Ferrari.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, may not be the red Ferrari we're looking for, right?
Right.
But it could be as simple as, hey, I've got you. Wait. Yeah. Just wait. It'll come. It'll overtake you. And this is where we get into heart magnetism, where the more we drop into our heart and live away from survival mentalities, the more the answers overtake us. And we can be a living, breathing, walking meditation throughout our day. Yeah. And we don't have to sit for hours at a time. It's good if you've got it, but if you cultivate this
right
as a living, moving, breathing, meditative state, then you'll hear those answers on the go. But oftentimes it does take that sweet spot.
Yeah, no, it's I generally, have a chunk of quiet time. When I say a chunk, I usually get up in the morning and I'll go make my coffee, and then I'll go outside, whether it's cold or warm, it doesn't matter. I'll just go outside and I'll sit there and just watch the sunrise usually, and just have conversation with Father and process things. And my motto for a long time, you've heard me say it, a lot of people have heard me say it, is, let go and flow. I don't think people really grasp everything that goes into it. I could probably, speak a week, do a conference for a week on let go and flow, because when I'm talking about letting go, it's processing. I mean, I literally will sit there in the morning and I'll say, Father, all right, let's go through, show me what I need to let go of. And it's good things and it's not so good things, things that I worry about, things I'm concerned about, or it's something that I'm excited about, and I maybe even, striving, fighting to get that thing, whatever it is, because I'm excited about it. But it's just coming to that place where I need to let that go. I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to give it to the Father. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let that go. And, it's kind of the same thing as what you're talking about, is let it flow through, let it go. And so what I'm doing is I'm letting go in order to come into alignment with what Father's doing, to get into the flow of what he's doing. Because I've said it 1,000 times, I probably said it, but God's going to do 1,000 times more than I can do on my best day, trying my hardest. So why would I want to go out and just do what I think is the best thing to do, when if I can align with it, with what he's doing, then it's just going to come out so much better. And does that mean that I'm always going to like what he's doing? No, sometimes submitting to sovereignty sucks. But most of the time, I believe, most of the time it's going to even be good, the way I see it. But, oftentimes what we think is best is not best. And so it really does come down to, do I really trust my Father? Do I really trust him? Because if I really trust him, then I also know that he's got my best in mind. And therefore I can let go of all these things, whether good or bad. I can let them go and look for the flow of what he's doing, knowing that he's got my best in mind. He's got a zillion ways of doing things. And rather than me putting my own expectation into the picture and making it so that it's got to come out the way I want it, I can let go and I can flow with what he's doing. And ideally, most of the time, I believe in fact, I can testify that most of the time, my life is so much smoother, so much happier when I'm doing that. Now, right now, I'm in a season where that's not necessarily the case, because, I've lost 2 good friends in less than a week. And it's hard.
Yeah. And it's, Gil, when that stuff happens, I think in Christendom in general, we don't give ourselves enough permission. I'm just saying this in general, is we don't give ourselves enough permission to just say it's okay to feel this way. That's hard for some people, to just say it's okay to feel that this sucks.
Right.
It's okay to feel that, hey, why does it always have to be, when we're not feeling up to par, that it's some demon or we have to pray something off of us? I came from those circles where it's like, well, just get over it. No, you don't get over stuff overnight sometimes. And I think the best way to approach it that I found so far is to, when I'm hurting, is to just give myself permission to say, it's okay, John, to feel this way. It's okay. No one else can put this on you to say it's not. It's kind of like trying to tell somebody, your time's up for grieving now.
Right.
Well, that's nobody else's business. That's between you and Father, how long that process is, right? And I think a lot of people are going through the same with all kinds of things, finances, especially finances right now. Just touch on that for a minute. That stings a lot of people. It really does. I mean, when you're ripped off, you can consider it being ripped off and go into victim mode and stay in your ego, right? Or you can say, okay, I just paid somebody's rent that may have needed rent. I just paid their bills. Now, easier said than done, right? I had to do that recently with $3,350. And
Oh, for some reason, well, I'm assuming that John will be back shortly. Yeah, we lost him there. He's talking about, the attitude of the heart when somebody kind of stabs you in the back or something happens and you lose some money. What do you choose? That's the way I would look at it is, what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to be the victim? John was talking about that. Are you going to choose to be the victim, or are you going to choose some other route? Is there a better way to look at something? And so, John, I was just kind of filling in after you got knocked off there. Are you there? Can you hear me?
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see me? Can you
Yeah.
see me there?
So that choice of, it's up to you. It really is. How do you want to live your life? You want to be the victim and choose to be angry about what has happened and want revenge, or it's taken me a long time to realize, hey, I get to choose, or I can
Exactly.
choose, to just say, hey, I've blessed somebody. Somebody got blessed with my money. They might not have taken it in the right way or gotten it in the right way. And I had something happen too just recently. In fact, I got off the phone just before getting on here trying to deal with that. And in the end, I am choosing to just allow that to be a gift and know that my Father is a good God. He's a good Father. And somehow, some way, he's got that covered.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh man. It's like this, Gil. We've both been having challenges with media and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's okay. I've come to the realization now in my life that the more professional I try to be, it doesn't work. It unravels anyways. So it's like it's like who cares?
Yeah.
But some people don't feel that way, and that's okay. It's okay. We try to do our best, and if technology fails us, then we go eat some chocolate. Okay, is that good? So, um, yeah, on those lines, Gil, I think recently the people that I've been just talking with that are really struggling today, for example, the submarine that went down, that was the tourist submarine to go check out the Titanic. There was some wealthy people on there, and there was some others, and they were all someone's father, mother, brother, sisters, 5 of them. And basically what happened is they get down 500 feet within that 12,500 foot depth of the Titanic, and to their best estimate, the whole thing implodes. And they were killed instantly. And there was a headline that said, the oxygen has run out. And instantly I heard this in my spirit. In general, for humanity, this I feel for the people who lost their lives, so I'm saying this respectfully. I'm not saying this towards them, okay? In general, what I heard was egoic oxygen has run out for humanity. And I asked Papa what that was. I said, what okay, tell me more. And what I heard was that the heart arena of we're yet to discover how powerful our heart is. People are talking about this in the scientific world, but the heart is it's like thousands and thousands of times more powerful than the brain. And the brain is in conjunction, right? The brain they operate simultaneously, but the heart is supposed to lead. Most of humanity is leading from the egoic center, right? Knowledge. But from especially the Christ-filled follower, the Christ follower, it's from the heart. Well, we've got it backwards in religion because we've been so conditioned to believe that it's about knowledge. And the more scripture I get in me, the more knowledge I get about a certain thing, then I'll be okay. When it's in fact just the opposite. So learning to live from our heart I believe is the new era that we're in. If you want to call it a new era, that's been around forever, but it's new to us. It's like learning how to live from this magnetic center. And then we breathe that oxygen. And when we breathe that oxygen, then stuff like getting ripped off doesn't affect us as much as it would by living out of this part of us, the head.
Yeah.
And that's why scripture is very clear about Christ being the head. So if we have Christ consciousness, that means that I've allowed my own head to be severed and then transplanted his upon my shoulders, so to speak, spiritually speaking, so that I'm thinking, moving, acting through heart consciousness, through the head. And when that happens, it's proven that things begin to overtake us. And I'm starting to see more and more glimpses of this in my life. And it doesn't mean that everything's just going to go the way we think it should go, right?
Right.
Like you losing money, me losing money. Well, maybe that's a good thing. And nobody wants to say it. We just say, well, what do you mean it's a good thing, John? I've lost 10,000 or 1,500 or whatever it is. How could that be a good thing? How do we know it's not a good thing until we get to the other side? Do you know what I mean? Like, but we process it as, oh my gosh, I needed that money. God, you know I needed that money. I needed that money. Well, he knows if you needed that money or not. Maybe it's going to come in a different way. Maybe it's favor. Maybe somebody's going to give you a brand new computer system worth 25 grand. Maybe the rent's going to get paid another way. Maybe the mortgage payment is going to come another way. But here's the point. It's allowing ourselves the permission to feel the pain initially, but then allow it to pass and then say, okay, I'm not going to anchor in to something that's egoic because the oxygen has run out on that sucker. So if I know that, if I sense that in my spirit, then I've got to do something. I'm going to drop into my heart. And when we drop into our heart, then we live present. When we live present, that's where Jesus lives.
Yeah.
That's why he said, don't take any thought for tomorrow, because if you're taking thoughts for tomorrow, you don't have permission for tomorrow because it hasn't been created yet.
That's good.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have permission for tomorrow because you need to live in your heart. Heart-centeredness is always present. There are no answers for tomorrow or next year. That's why he said, don't take up your business a year from now. Don't say, I'm going to move to this city, to Austin a year from now. Or don't say you're going to move to Hawaii a year from now. Just live present. And if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen.
Yeah. And that again, to me, is that let go and flow. That I just, for me, it just doesn't get any simpler. And yet I think if I could do that well, that it would be the most powerful life I could live. If I can let go of all the preconceived ideas and expectations that I carry every day, if I could just let those go and look inward to the kingdom, the kingdom within, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, look inward to see what they're doing and to just do that. That's the flow. That's the flow. When I look in, so letting go of my expectations and all that, and unfortunately, especially in America, but a lot of places in the world, we have been just force-fed this whole, living the dream thing. Got to have the fancy car on my refrigerator and the fancy house on my refrigerator, and the dream boards and all that. And I'm not saying not to do that, but at the same time, what that creates is this stress area where now you're striving to get those things. Striving is a negative frequency. And when you operate in that negative frequency, you then make the next step even more difficult. And, I think it's called Love is a Choice, or the Love Code. I can't remember what the name of the book was, but, it talked about being in that space where you make it 1,000,000 times harder. I don't know where they got the million, but 1,000,000 times harder when you set those stress goals. those stress
Oh
goals that are
man.
based off of, I got to have that, I got to get this, versus living your life in the moment, being present, learning to love well, because I believe that is the key to everything, is learning to love well, starting with yourself. And you can't do that unless you hear what God's saying about you, and then you align with that. And when you align with that, you're now loving him and trusting him and what he's done in you. And that spills over to love everybody else. There are some simple things that
Yeah.
everybody is not willing to do the basics. What they really want to do is go play out here and do all these crazy things that are all about fantasy and just you name it. And yet it's like, wait a minute, that's all fine, but how about if we actually focus on the
Yeah.
basics and get that down? Because until we learn to love, we're not going to work in the full power and authority that Jesus said that we could work in. Pretty simple as far as I'm concerned.
Oh man. It's the like you said, Gil, it's the thing to me now. It's the it factor. Like, how much have I become aware of my ability to love in the midst of what I'm going through,
Yeah.
One of the hardest things to do, one of the most challenging things to do for a lot of people is to think about serving someone else in the midst of your own pain. Who wants to do that? I'd rather go sit down and binge watch Star Wars or something. You know what I'm saying? If I'm
Hey,
honest
come on.
about it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. So, however, it's when I get outside of myself and say, how can I, you don't have to go dig a ditch for somebody, but hey, if that's what it takes. And the whole point is to get us outside of ourselves, to
Yes.
break up that egoic conditioning.
Yeah. When I
You
was suffering with depression so badly, probably 15, 20 years ago, you're talking about getting outside of yourself. I knew I would get in these ruts where I could not think straight. All I could do was continue to, focus on the depression and everything. And there came a point where I finally realized that there were certain tools, things that I could go do that would break that cycle. And that's really literally what I needed to do, was to break that cycle of thinking and get myself, into a position where I could start fresh. So John will be back in a minute. I'm not sure, his phone is having some issues there, but anyway, to break the cycle of thinking, it is so important. That can be done in multiple ways. You can go, like I said, go dig a ditch, go do something for somebody else. I would go to a movie. That's what I would do back then, is I would just go to a movie to get my mind to stop thinking about what I was thinking about and shift into, give me an opportunity so when I got out, I could actually step into thinking of, thinking in new ways. But now I'm able to sit with, just sit with the Father and let him begin to wash over me, let his Spirit wash over me and through me, and just
Gil, are you
take
still
away
there?
those thoughts. Yeah, John, are you there now? Can you hear me?
Hey guys, so if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Oh man. Hey, it's all good. I apologize to anyone that's watching this breaking up, but hey, it's how it's going lately. Now, in certain circles, they would say some demons trying to stop this, and I used to believe that too, but I believe in the sovereignty of God more so.
Amen. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
is there times for to deal with some dark entity? Of course, however, and I don't know what you were just talking about, but this just came to mind when the breakups happen. Principality and powers of the air and all that stuff. Well, I can spend my time trying to call down some entity, or I can drop into the heart and let the heart deal with it. Because it could be a deflection on what God's trying to teach me in the moment, like patience. Hello, the big P
Yeah.
word,
Well,
patience.
it really brings into question, what do you think of God? Is he sovereign and all powerful, or is the enemy getting one over on him? I mean, it's like most people, unfortunately, most Christians believe that the enemy gets one over on God so often that it's
Oh, I
kind of
know.
laughable. When in reality, every one of those things that goes wrong in our life every day, even the traumatic, I mean, like I said, lost two people this week, even the traumatic,
Right.
all of these things give us opportunity to respond in love.
That's
And
it.
that to me is what we're here to learn. How do I respond in love in every situation so that I'm not triggered anymore? Now, there's a lot of people that are going to need a lot of healing and so forth,
Right.
but ultimately that's the goal. How do I get to a place where I can respond in love with every single thing that goes on so that nothing really challenges me? Without the challenges, we'd never have that. We'd never learn anything.
We
So,
wouldn't. We'd blow up. We would blow up in egocentric ways. We really would.
yeah.
And how I like to look at that whole thing is the flesh equals the ego, ego equals the flesh. That's how I feel about it now. So when we're talking about the ego, anybody listening, just think of it as the flesh in Christian terms, right? The flesh, the flesh, the flesh. So how I like to look at it now is, if God is love and love is the highest quote pursuit, then love is going to deal with anything that would try to harm the situation or me in any given moment in time. If I believe that and I trust that. Oftentimes we're in this separation mindset because we've been conditioned to believe that it's separate. I'm here, God's over there. I'm here and God's way over here on the inside of me, and he turns his head every time I say something stupid. Um, so the oneness says that you've never been separated. Your understanding has just been asleep. You've just been asleep.
Well, and you've
Now
been
you're
programmed
awake.
to believe something totally different that puts you to sleep.
Yes, exactly. And so, okay, well, I've been one since the beginning. Where do I think I came from? I'm part of God. I come from the very substance of God. I came out of God. And so, in other words, I came out of love. I am the very essence and substance of love, birthed into an earth suit that has ego problems because I've been conditioned to believe a certain way. And so, if I've been conditioned to believe a certain way, then the subconscious becomes strong in that area if I allow the programming to remain. This is why he says, be renewed, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's not just memorizing scripture all day long. Be transformed by allowing the mind of Christ to supersede the egoic. And how do we do that? Stilling ourselves, surrendering, submitting. Uh, not in a and I don't even like those words really, but we don't have a language for it yet. Maybe some people do, but I like to say it. I'm integrated. I'm integrating with that oneness in my understanding.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
through my throwing my hands in the air, paddles up. Thus we say, and you say let go and flow. We say paddles up, same thing. Um, Paddles up. I'm taking my hands off of it, and I'm going to drop underneath the surface of the egoic realm, my mind, my knowledge, and I'm going to breathe underwater. Breathe in that oneness. Breathe in the kingdom that's in me. And when I remember that, when I remember who I am, who I really am, then I go, oh, okay. There's the solution right there all along. It's right there inside of me. And it could be as simple as, hey, call that guy back and just say you're sorry, or whatever it is, right? But oftentimes our conditioning as men, just speaking to the men is that shows weakness. You need to do something about that. You're the leader. You're the man of the house. You need to do something about it now. You need to do. Well, I think the greatest thing that we could ever do initially is to not do anything. is to sit there and just let the moment pass. Especially if I'm angry about something, hold
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
let it come up, sit with the pain, acknowledge the pain, and then let it pass. Right? Because with me, I don't know about you, Gil, but man, I come from, my dad was a biker. He's a businessman. He's a biker. He rode with the Hells Angels sometimes. We had him on our lawn, camped out as kids. We have pictures of that. I come from kind of a rough partying background, and my dad was a get her done guy. I mean, he worked 18 hours a day in the woods as a logger. He was a businessman in the warehousing trucking world, and he got it done. However, the toll it took on him later on in life, he's still alive, but he's like a big teddy bear now. But it's like the toll it takes when we follow that need to be right or that need to fix something as a man. My wife always tells me, Gil, I don't need fixing. I need you to listen. I don't need you to fix me. Just listen to me.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
I don't know why that doesn't compute sometimes.
Yeah. But I don't know why. It was funny this morning for me. I was just having my contemplation time, and I'm always looking at how do I learn to love better. And for whatever reason, it's one of those things. It's like that passing thought, and it's like, wait a minute, let's grab that. Let's grab that for a moment, and I want to ask Father about it, because the thought crossed my mind. It's like, well, there's people out there that think evil is the right way to go. Satanists and so forth. There's people out there that really believe that evil is the right way. And I'm like, how, Father, how would you know? And what he gave to me, and it's one of those moments of just being in the silence and listening. And what Father shared with me, I'm like, oh, duh. But I don't know that many people think about it. If you let the evolution of evil go, evil is going to annihilate itself, because it's only out to rob, kill, and destroy.
Right.
That's what darkness and evil does. But the evolution of love and light will go on for eternity. So, again, just very simple. But Father was just showing, it's like, I am the fullness of the evolution. Not that he evolved, but he says, I am the fullness of the evolution of love. I am eternal.
Yeah.
It cannot be stopped. Evil, darkness, on the other hand, it will eliminate itself if it were allowed to just continue to grow. It would eliminate itself. And so
that's good. That's a good way to look at it.
We are here to learn to love. And it's like, that's the bottom line. So how do we learn to love better? And, that's what we're talking about. It's like,
it really is, Gil. And that the whole thing, I love Revelation like the next guy, but some of this stuff gets so lofty to me. And I'm not, I'm not trying to judge it or anything. For me right now, in this moment in my world, the simpler, the better. Yes, I'd love to learn about galaxy after galaxy. And nobody taught it better than Chris Carter. I love what he taught. I love what he shared, and his legacy will go on. However, sometimes some others that I've listened to, I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to wake up in the morning and not have a bad attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to wake up and forgive the guy that ripped me off. I'm just trying to wake up and know how to be a better husband, and love my wife, and to go down the street, and when I get cut off by some little old lady, not get mad about it. And to me, that's important. That's everyday living. And yes, the grandiose revelation stuff. I mean, when I was in the prophetic world, Gil, and I'm not bragging at all, believe me, I'm just saying this for context. I could prophesy for hours, like 3, 4, 5 hours over one person. And a lot of it was really accurate, and I got into the deep stuff, you know, and I'm thinking everybody else is going, oh man, that's wonderful. And I'm going, do you know what side of the bed I woke up on this morning? I don't even want to be doing this right now. I'm trying to have a good attitude, but the gift is flowing. But if you really realized and understood what I was struggling with right now, you might not want me to prophesy over you. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so I look at stuff like that almost from a third person perspective and say, John, how you doing? You can do all the stuff. You can have all the gifts, all the talents, all the abilities. But John, checking in with John. How's John doing? How's little Johnny doing? The guy that hasn't integrated yet. The guy that's still in pain. The little Johnny that was abandoned as a kid. That
And you know,
that would,
so many people, so many guys, or gals listening to this. That's you're hitting the nail on the head right now.
Oh my goodness, Gil. I mean, I want to get down to where the rubber meets the road. When the guy stands up there, or the woman stands up there, and they're blowing out all their revelation, I'm going, okay, that's great. Like, oh, here's a good example. And I don't give names. You don't need to. But there was this couple that we used to be pretty close to. And they would get a lot of gold falling in their home, the oil filling up on its own, and a lot of gemstones and all of that. And it was legit. I mean, we were in a soaking session one time with them, and gemstone was dropping. I mean, it went tick across the floor, and then we look over at our friend, and he's playing with the stars in the heavens, and a gemstone materialized right in his fingers, right in front of us. We saw it materialize right in his fingers, and we asked him what he was doing. He was gone. He took off in the spirit. We said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, God, the Father's letting me play with the stars, and here's a part of one of them." And I'm going,
Wow.
"Oh my goodness, that's awesome!" But you know, I'm thinking about how am I going to pay the rent next month? At the time, you know, I'm thinking that's awesome. Can we sell one of those so I can pay my rent? like I'm serious, Gil.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there thinking,
Yeah.
can we do that so I can pay a bill off? And then they're like, so you know, I didn't say it to them, but I was sure thinking it. And so I wish more ministers and things would just say, you know what, you guys, I don't feel like preaching this morning. I need another cup of coffee. So I'm going to check out. Okay. So-and-so is going to get up here and talk. I got to go get my mind straight.
Yeah.
If we see more stuff like that, then people would look and say, oh, hey, you're a real human being. You're a real human being. And I can relate to you.
You and I have talked about that, about so many leaders putting up facades and people following the facades and not even realizing they're following a facade versus the real. And I can tell with you and I know Dean and I, we've done our best to not put up the facades. It's like,
right.
Exactly. Number one, it's too much energy to do all that. And number two, we've always talked about, hey, we're all on this journey together. We're on this journey together. Right. And we've got issues. Everybody's got issues. I don't care who it is. Everybody's got issues. Exactly. And that's why in the end, it's like, I love that talk. I love what you just shared, having the gyms showing up and you're thinking, how am I going to pay rent next month? Can we sell? Here's the thing, John. Here's the thing is I have just flat out learned, I've come to the place to realize, because in my past, in my business years, I filed bankruptcy twice. I had to file bankruptcy twice.
Oh, wow.
And each time, I'm thinking, God, how can you allow this? I've done everything I can to pay the bills, to earn enough to pay the bills and get all the debt paid off. And I've done everything I can to do these things. And this is going to be a blight on your name, God. That's the way I was thinking.
I know. Been there, done that.
Going through that and going through multiple other things. I mean, we've gone through hell. I mean, we've gone through a lot. And in the end, I've come to realize what Father's really after is your heart.
That's it.
And, and I hate to say this because it's going to freak some people out and it's probably going to really piss some people off. But he probably isn't that concerned about whether you get your rent paid or not. He wants your heart.
That's right.
He wants your heart. And
Yeah.
he's gonna
Yeah.
do whatever it takes to get to your heart. And sometimes we need to hit bottom hard so that we turn to him and stop striving to make everything work the way we want it to work. And
Oh
again, I know that's
man.
not really going to sit well with a lot of people, but
But you know what? People need to hear it, Gil. I mean, our spirit loves it. It's the flesh that's weak. It's the ego that's weak, right? I just did a message this morning on Facebook, and it was something like, do you feel cornered in and you can't do anything about it? Well, a lot of people are feeling that way now. And I said exactly almost what you said. I go, but God, my credit card payments are going to be late. It's integral to pay the credit cards on time, isn't it, God? I mean, if you don't pay it, it's on you, and or God, it's integral for me to make my car payment on time, the $800 a month car payment that you never really sanctioned, but because my ego wanted it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Yeah.
God gave me this car. No, he didn't. The bank gave you that car. Don't be blaming that on God. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, we do these things, and you're spot on. We do these things, and we have preferences, and we have likes and dislikes. We have these little things called preferences. Well, God, I need to be in that house or I'm not going to be happy. God, I need to be in this city for my dream to come to fruition. I got to be in this relationship because it's the one I want. And after all, you'll give me the desires of my heart, won't you, God? And he goes, listen, I'm going to give you the desires of your heart, not your head.
Yeah.
So what are you living out of? Are you living out of your heart?
Come on.
Or are you still living out of the ego? Because your ego is going to want things that I never want for you. But nevertheless, I'll give it to you, and leanness is going to come to your soul. That's scripture somewhere, isn't
it? Yeah.
So what did he do to the children of Israel? We want meat. We're used to meat. God, you want me to have a filet mignon tonight, God. You wouldn't want me to go to Taco Bell. That's bad for me. So he sends them manna. And by the way, it's present manna. It's not manna I can go get in the fridge tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Well, these, this is the real and raw. So this is good because I feel like, just getting down. I've always been kind of a bottom line guy, the nuts and bolts. Get to the nuts and bolts. What's the bottom line? And the bottom line is God's after your heart, and we're here to learn to love. And if we can learn to let go and flow, it's going to go so much better for us. And you've got your paddles up. I mean, we're talking the same stuff. We're just using different language.
Yeah.
And those are some of the simple things, the basics. We got to stop and learn to love and stop playing the blame game. Can't pay my rent. Well, God, shouldn't you pay my rent?
Well, maybe I don't want you to live there. Well, I want to live there. Well, maybe that's not good for you.
Well, and
anyway.
Yeah, and before I don't know if we were live. I don't think we were live when we shared it, but I'll share it now. But there's like things happening, and my heart is to simply discern what Father's doing. Now I don't necessarily like what I think he may be doing right now. On multiple levels, I don't necessarily like what I think he may be doing. However, I am willing to submit to what he's doing because I trust him. And I believe that the outcome of what he's doing is going to be so much better than if I scratch and claw to keep what I've got and to keep doing what I'm doing and so on and so forth. I'm simply now trying to discern what is he doing so I can get in line with that. And that's not so easy sometimes, but I trust him. And even if I get it wrong, I still trust him. And I know that he'll get me back in line eventually. Just sometimes my hard head doesn't quite get some of the things he wants to do.
Oh my goodness, Gil. I don't know how long we're going here, but this is so good.
Yeah, we
Do
probably
you
need
have
to
to?
wrap it up fairly soon, but go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say that I totally agree with you. We were listening to this guy not too long ago that it loves God, but you wouldn't find him in like the church arena really, but he really loves God. And he said something pretty profound. He goes, "Listen, I've learned to live by no preferences."
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
And when you live by no preferences, you're living in the dead center of love, unconditional love. Because unconditional love in its substance is it doesn't live by preferences and likes and dislikes. It just is, and it's unconditional in its response towards everything. And
Amen.
so when we grow in that, in our understanding and awaken to it more and more, then you find yourself saying things like, hey, where I used to say, I don't want to live there, it's too cold. Or I don't want to live there, it's too hot. Oh, I don't want to go over there, it's too humid. Well, I don't like that restaurant because the food sucks. Instead of saying stuff like that, we're like, hey, you know what? I've never been to Alaska. I have, but I'm just saying this for reference. I've never been to Alaska, and I hear it's cold up there. Hey, this is a grand adventure. Let's go check it out. I feel a leading towards that arena. Let's go. Hey, let's go live in the South for a little bit because I'm feeling a lead to. I can take 3 showers a day when it's humid out.
Yeah.
No big deal. You know what I mean? Like living by no preferences means that we are living more in love.
Yeah. And that to me is the equivalent of expectancy versus expectation. If you have no preferences, then you have no expectations. And so therefore you're living by
Yeah.
expectancy on what Father is doing versus what you think is best. I can think what I think is best all day long, but it may not be best. I do know that Father knows best, and I want to align with that.
That's right. Father knows best, just like the show.
Yep. Yep. Well, John,
Oh man. Well, do we have to cut it off here? Or is there a couple questions at all, or do you want to
you
mention
know,
at the
there
hour?
was some questions further back here. Let me go back and see if I can find it real quick, and then yeah, we can. So this is kind of off topic. I don't know if you want to address it or not. We'll throw it up there and see what you think. So have you noticed the increase
Anything
in
goes,
near-death
right?
experiences? What does this say about the age we are in? Do you have anything you want to comment on that?
Ooh. Yeah, so that's interesting.
I would
Amy and I
have
have
to
been
have some time
watching
with
near-death.
Father on that.
Yeah. Amy and I have been watching near-death experience videos recently, and it's very interesting. One of the takeaways from that is that there's this life review on a majority of these near-death experiences. NDEs is what they call them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these life reviews that everybody goes through. It's not a life review like Christianity or religion teaches, like, oh man, I'm in trouble. It's a life review on every act of kindness, every love shown, every bit of love shown, every bit of compassion shown, and where it wasn't. So it's a life review saying, hey, that smile made a difference. Hey, when you had an opportunity to smile and you didn't, no condemnation, just it didn't happen. And this was the result. And it's like a life review really quickly that happens. And then they're given a choice. Most of the time, you can either stay here with me in heaven or you can go back and learn to love. So it's interesting that more and more of these are happening. And he is right. I think that was a he, right? I'm not sure if that was a gentleman that asked that, but
I'm not sure either.
real interesting that they are increasing these NDEs. Most of them will say that very thing. I had a life review. I came back so that I could smile one more time.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's all I have to share on that.
All right. Well, and I don't have anything to share on that. I've not really paid a lot of attention because I tend to my understanding is, we've got our belief systems, and we might have lost John one more time. But my understanding is we have our belief systems. And so just as when we do pass, Father's going to meet us where we're at, and I want to even hesitate to, I want to hesitate about saying when we pass, because I don't believe that we have to die. And so we need to learn to come into alignment with, with the truth that I believe that we don't have to die. So, when we die, Father's not going to take all the choices that we've made and just wipe them out. I do not believe that at all. I believe that he is going to honor our choices. And so if we have chosen to believe in erroneous things about him, then when we pass on the other side of the veil, we're going to go to school. We're going to go to purgatory. We're going to go to something. And some people might just call it hell, that you're going to go through something where you're going to be purified and retrained and re-educated. But Father's not going to make you believe anything. He will take whatever time is necessary to help you, through the process of understanding truth. And that's what I believe happens on the other side. So if I believe that there's, going to be an eternal hell, and I die and I've been a pretty bad person and I expect to go there, that's might very well be what I see, because it's what I believe. But I believe Father's going to meet you there as well and be able to walk you through a process of truth to bring you out of that. That's my belief. So,
yeah.
And I don't know if we're on the same page on that, John. We could be totally different.
Well, hell to me is not relenting and giving in to love. We can be living hell right now, and most people are, because we're kicking against the goads of what's a natural bent in our spirit to do, because we're made of love.
Yeah.
And so hell on earth is my denial of that. And whatever anybody wants to think about the garbage heap and the garbage dump in Jerusalem and all that kind of stuff, what Jesus was referring to, that's a whole nother subject. But anyway, so it is a school. And I don't think we stop learning, because we're multifaceted, multidimensional, eternal beings. It never stops. Yeah. And it's all in love. God has us. I mean, somebody say, well, you're saying, is Hitler in heaven or is he in hell? That's none of my business. That's none of my business. Yeah. That's how I look at it. It's none of my business. I've got too much chocolate to eat when I'm stressed out. So why am I worried about that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, John, this has been good. We don't even know if we'll do this again. It was just an impromptu thing. Not an impromptu. We planned it. We talked about it Tuesday. We said, hey, let's just flip on the channel and have some raw talk. And I do believe that, what we're sharing can help people, because we have been through a lot and we've learned a lot. And I think we have a lot to share. Whether people want to take it and integrate it into their own lives, that's totally up to you. But it works for me. It works for my wife. And John, I believe what you're doing is working for you and your wife. And I think we've taught a lot of people to do some similar things, and it's really blessed them. So I think it's a better way to live. I really do.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Gil. See, if I'm on game for this again when we have a better connection. Again, I apologize for something that's not my fault, maybe, but I'll apologize anyway. But
no worries.
I'd love to do it again if you're game for it. See what the people say, if they want us to do it or not. They could just say, "Hey, guys, don't do this again." And that's okay with me. I'm good.
I'm pretty flexible.
I enjoyed it.
I did too. And the thing is, there is a lot more. And I think if we do this more and people come on, I think people start realizing, hey, what do you guys think about this? And we'll throw out what we've learned and what we can share, and everybody gets to choose whether they want to go with it or not. And you know what we could do occasionally, John, is if someone's asking a lot of questions. And if they want to join us, I could actually set it up. They could join us on here and talk with us if that were a thing. We could try it. Anyway, I'm just open.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out and talking. So it's been good. And I appreciate you a lot, John.
That's right. You too, man. It's always fun because you know the thing is, Gil. I'll say this before we get off here. Some people in your life just give you permission to be you, whether they say it or not. It doesn't matter. You feel it.
Yeah.
It's how a person makes you feel is what matters, and I appreciate you for that. I can just be me without apology, and it's so refreshing, Gil. So thank you.
Yeah, well, same here, and that's why I did want to do this, because just real and raw. Don't have to fake anything. Don't have to try to perform. Not that I don't feel like I do, but at the same time, when I'm doing an interview with somebody, I do want to be a little more professional and kind of laser focused on what they're doing. I try to do that, but this has just been laid back, and it's been more like the behind the scenes that we do when we just kind of hang back and no performance. just be you. So it's been good.
That's right.
So thank you, John.
Yep. Sounds good, man.
Thank you, everybody who watched, and
thank you, everyone.
Let us know if you want us to do it again sometime, and we'll probably do it again at some point. All right, love you all.
You bet.
Thank you, John. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Love you. Thanks, everyone. Have a blessed day. Go eat some chocolate.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.